saw this thread pop up in my feed, so I wanted to just kind of throw my my opinion into the ring here. Take it or leave it. This is just all from my experience and obviously my my time as not only an adult but also just being in this space and seeing a lot of the legal back end and just kind of how things work here. So I think there's like two things here in this situation. Number one, I see a lot of people upset that the developers, Basil and Hitoko here, basically a lot of people are upset that they didn't disclose the information that like Soul is still profiting off of the game. I don't know what the percentage is, right? Like 5, 10, 25, like I've seen a bunch of numbers. And then the other thing is, well, why are they still making money off the game if they don't have anything to do with the game, as Basil and Hitoko claim? So first off, whenever you go into an agreement or any sort of negotiation to sell a game like this, there's a lot that goes into it, right? We're talking about a property, an IP that is worth millions of dollars. So the first thing that you're going to do before entering into any negotiations is everyone's going to sign an NDA. So everyone associated with this, that's, part of this deal, they will have signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, which basically means you can't talk about any of the details of the negotiation, of the deal, of the contract, whatever. You can't talk about any of that publicly. If you do, you're in violation of the NDA, which, I mean, that's a legal contract that you are signing. You do not want to violate an NDA. I see a lot of people saying like, oh yeah, they're under NDA, but we deserve to know. Why didn't you tell us? Legally, they could not. It doesn't matter who deserves to know or doesn't deserve to know. The fact is, legally, they were probably not allowed to tell anyone publicly. If they did, they could get they could get sued or I don't know the specifics of the deal, right? But you can't break an NDA. That's bad. like legally, that is bad. So it doesn't surprise me that they weren't saying, oh, this person has 10% of this deal. This person gets 15%. This person gets 5%. Like, they were probably not legally allowed to say that. So that's why, just right off the bat there. Secondly, whenever you buy or sell a Roblox game, unless you have like $100 million, because like a lot of these games, they make millions of dollars a year, they're worth upwards of like 100, 200, $300 million, right? I think Bloxburg sold for, what was it, like 200 million or something like that. It was quite a bit of money. And so unless you just outright buy the whole game, which a lot of people don't do because they don't have, $100 million, you basically buy a percentage of the game. And the good example of this is like Grow a Garden, right? Jandal doesn't actually own 100% of Grow a Garden. Jandal owns a percentage of Grow a Garden. Dubig owns a percentage of Grow a Garden. The original developer owns a percentage of Grow a Garden. And even though Jandal is the developer, even though he's doing everything for Grow a Garden, all these other people that, are part of the deal, they still get their percentage, whether they work on the game or not. And that's kind of like exactly what's going on here. Soul, for all intents and purposes, owned the game, right? They wanted to sell the game. They sold the game. They get a percentage of it. That's just kind of how, that's kind of, not to be like blunt or disrespectful, that's just kind of how real life works. And that's kind of how that's just kind of how this works, right? So even though they're not working on the game actively, even though they have nothing to do with the game anymore, they're still earning a percentage of it. Why? Because they sold the game. Like that's, it was always going to happen. Either, they walked out of here getting a $200 million paycheck right off the bat, or maybe not 200 million, maybe like 100 million, 80 million, something like that, right? Or they walk out of here getting, 5, 10, I don't know what the percentage is, 20, 25% of the game for the life cycle of the game, right? It's unavoidable. There's really nothing that you can do when you're buying a game. That's just how it works. Like, Soul is going to get a percentage of the game, no matter who owns the game, whoever sells, like, it doesn't matter. They're going to get a percentage because they own the game, they sold the game. That's the situation that, that's just how it works, right? Yeah, I see a lot of people saying, well, what about the allegations against them? I have to be careful how I say this because I don't want to get sued. And like, the thing is, again, I know this is like not really how like a lot of people perceive things on Twitter, but it's like, in the eyes of the law, legally, Soul has not been charged or convicted with anything. In the eyes of the law, from a legal standpoint, they are as innocent as can be. Now, I'm not, again, I'm not dismissing any allegations or anything. I don't even know what they are fully, to be fair. But I'm just saying they have not been charged with anything. They have not been, sent to jail. They've not been to court over anything. Nothing has been brought up against them legally that I'm aware of. And so, like, you can't even make the argument that, like, this person is a convicted felon or whatever you want to call it, right? You can't even make that argument because in the eyes of the law, they're innocent, right? And so this is just kind of the situation that like the game is in. Soul is going to earn a percentage of the game. Why? Because they own the game and they sold the game, and that's just how it works, right? I find it weird that like a lot of people on Twitter are like attacking the developers over it because, like, again, they legally cannot say. That's just how it works. So anyway, wanted to throw my hat into the ring here. Give my opinion.